Okay, no, cool. So we've got Gaarp, John. We've also got Tay as well as Yuta, who are in the stage, but not on the stage, but they're ready to talk. So we just got Gaarp to give a quick run through about just his entry into crypto, into everything, into Treasure. I was hoping, because it really is insightful as more people are trying to enter into this space, if we could just hopefully get a rundown from you guys as well, with John, Yuta, and Tay, as to how you guys got into crypto, how you guys got into NFTs, and then Treasure as well. Maybe starting with you, John.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm John Patton. I'm the head of growth at Osmosis, which is a Cosmos-based automated market maker, AMM chain. So that's my day job, and I got into crypto a few years ago, trading DeFi, starting around 2018 or 2019 more so, and then left my job to work in crypto full time after DeFi really took off. Got into NFTs about a year ago, sort of just casually. I lucked out before the pumps took off. That's when I was getting into NFTs, and then really wanted to make a marketplace, a decentralized DAO run marketplace. Didn't get much traction on that, but Luke came around and it just really inspired me. And that's when everything started clicking, meeting the right people to start building. Gaarp and Cheese is in the audience, I think. Wise, Yuta and I actually met. We both live in Nashville, Tennessee, in the U.S. and we met in school. And then he showed me loot. Was super late to loot. I bought the top, but we were both amazed by it and decided to build something in that vein because it was just super inspiring. That's my background.
That's awesome. Tim, Tay, sorry, I keep getting confused by the name. Tay, you came in, I think, a bit later into the journey. Maybe we could hear a bit more about your background. I heard you're ex-Netflix, but yeah, keen to hear more.
Hi, so I mean, I'm pretty new to crypto, just started this year. So yeah, I don't really have the PTSD a lot of people have. So my background is from entertainment arts, working in movies and films and games, as concept artist, illustrator, graphic designer. Earlier this year, I was just introduced to crypto through some friends, and then became a really big shitcoin holder. Lost a lot of money. And sometime around 3-4 months ago, I started getting into NFTs. And just personally as an artist, a lot of NFTs seemed very not doing is interesting. But when I saw Loot and Project, it actually intrigued me a lot. The idea and the potential of things being built on top. And through that, I just got in contact with Treasure, and then saw that John and the team was actually looking for an artist, and then I jumped on, and we've been busting our asses trying to ship stuff. So yeah, that's how I came to be.
You guys honestly are the kings of shipping stuff. You guys, I don't know how you guys do it. Like the amount of goals you guys are hitting every single week is phenomenal. Maybe just to give everyone a quick run through, maybe just in simple terms, what is Treasure? What is this Treasure ecosystem that really underlies a lot of the things that you guys are building?
Sure. Yeah. So Treasure is a bridge between metaverses. Instead of basing our metaverse around characters, it's based on resources. So we invented these fantasy assets, if you want to call them that other metaverses would use. And the idea was that this would create relationships between metaverses in a way that characters or any other story element really can. Only resources can function as bridges between these worlds. It forms the things that they fight over, that they ally over, and these resources are it's a larger context in which all these stories are taking place, and thereby can connect them. So that was the idea, was to create just release these resources, not say what they are for, you know, in the loot vein, and then see if viable game economies could be built around them. And the theory also being that, you know, if enough people believe in these things and they come to a consensus on what they mean and new forms of treasures that can come to exist, then, you know, the economy itself sort of gains density, and like you can build real things on top of it, new stories, but also like DeFi instruments. So the longer goals like connect metaverses, but also be like where magic is something that exists on Aave, because it has real economic value, because it supports all these metaverses that are very valuable.
That's super interesting. How did you come to this, I guess, idea that, you know, it's resources that will be the bridges between, you know, different metaverses? Like where did you get your inspiration from for this idea?
From Loot. Yuta and I had been talking about Loot for like a couple days, and then he was super sick. I texted him at like 3 in the morning. I was like, "We've got to launch this right now. Someone's about to do this. I know this is like a good idea. Someone's going to do it." I didn't even know Adventure Gold existed at that point. But he was passed out. So I got my other friend to do it. And I said, "Don't even put it on testnet. Just ship it now," which is why there's all those spelling mistakes in the original treasure cards, because we did it a little too quickly. But yeah, it was just like, okay, if Loot is true, then, you know, it's such a brilliant idea. No one really had come up with before in crypto. Just invent the mechanism before the context. And then I didn't come from the NFT world. I came from the DeFi world, and it's like, okay, what would it be like if you just created the cogs and the bolts for DeFi before creating a context for them?
That's really huge. And I guess coming off that, so it's a Loot derivative. It was a free mint. Treasure was a free mint. And you've gone from essentially a free mint to this, you know, incredible new ecosystem that's there. You're literally making something out of nothing. And yet along the way, there's been so many, I guess, financial incentives that you've been able to provide to your community and the people in the ecosystem. Like, how? Just a simple question, but like, how is that possible? From someone who's not really from a DeFi background, it's just amazing at face value.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, this is like, so I mean, seeing it bear fruit has been like humbling, and I'm very grateful for it. But I just believed for a long time that, like, you know, communities that really last they're formed in situations like this, where, you know, I mean, if you look at Magic's chart, it is like really disturbing at times, like how volatile it was, and being a Magic holder and things like that, you know. But you create communities that last when they go through conditions like those, and that the way you create a real community is by giving everything away for free, and then just putting yourself in the same situation as community. Like, if they make money, then we make money. You know, that we're not going to charge up front. And especially when you're trying to, like, I just don't get these metaverses that people pay for, like, because a metaverse is just like a collective story. It's like you know, you have to decide what the next element in this world, like, the only thing that exists in those worlds are the things that everyone agrees exist, you know. So if you have some company like legislating it, making you pay for it, that's not really what a metaverse is. It's inherently collaborative and open ecosystem. So, you know, when I got into NFTs, I was like all about, it's got to be free, the DAO's got to run, you know, these got to be like DAO owned things. And then luckily Loot came along at a time where it was like, okay, this is the perfect place to apply this.
I think just to like build upon that as well is kind of taking that and then, you know, forming the right construct that people can kind of work in the best times. You know, anyone who's played any sort of kind of narrative or story-based game has invested thousands of hours. They, you know, too many they care to admit to other people publicly, but like that in of itself is kind of the work. It's like all the stuff that you put into building out that character, making the friendships, building the community, that gives value to things. And just like anything, you know, fiat currency is given value because enough people give it value. It's the same thing with the metaverse, right? Like you've got enough committed people who are all aligned in what they want to create and build together. They ascribe value to it, and that's what we've seen through, you know, all the different assets that we've been able to create through this kind of expanding network or broader metaverse.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so. One day there will be things. There will be actual DeFi protocols built on top of our metaverse. We hope, or like our bridge world. But at the end of the day, like the thing below all of it is the community. We definitely saw that. We gave it away for free, just like hoping other people would come to build. And at one point, the magic market cap dropped down to like $300,000. At which point, Gaarp came in from the community and was like, "Look, you gotta do these LP incentives better." He came along. We had the original artist that did some of the art just saw treasure, and like people were just like submitting stuff to us for free, and so it was like a snowball as it rolls up. Like it was all these people just coming out of nowhere to help us do it. Tay came along to like deepen the artistic vision. As I mentioned, Cheese and Wise built our incredible front end. So like whatever Magic is right now is because it just started as this really vulnerable, small, free thing that everyone else came in and they put their labor into, and so Magic has turned into the sum of everyone's a bunch of strangers' labor. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's all.
And
Sorry, go on.
And to build on top of that, like as John was saying, it's with the free minute came a community, and then what I think of community is that it's the power of belief, right, and trust, and it's basically a mental blockchain of people trusting each other, having memories with each other, and then building the community together. And I think this is really important, and what we plan to make the metaverse be in the future, and it, like right now as it is as well, but to build on top of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And could you say that's kind of the reason why you guys decided to self-fund at the start? And I don't believe you guys sought VC funding either, right? It's all part of kind of upholding that ethos that you're talking about, right?
Yes, we actually got contacted by VCs probably on the second day and had kind of like had casual conversations with them. And it was clear, like, when we didn't have enough to even offer them, where we wouldn't be just offering them the entire protocol for hardly much to build. So it was sort of like, yeah, the conversations weren't productive because we didn't know what we could offer them, or and so we had to be fair launch, and we liked being fair launch, and it just worked out. We just grinded, and then. We're now actually in a position where we have a sizable enough market cap where we can have fruitful conversations with investors now about
Yeah, and probably just
still fair launch. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think like that was one of the kind of key things that kind of drew me in as well, was just the passion and kind of dedication that kind of John and Yuta had, and kind of the rest of the founding team around making this work. Back then, when we first started, maybe not a super clear idea on where we're heading, but like pretty clear in terms of like the broader vision, and just the belief that they had, and the fact that they were willing to kind of self-fund to bring people on, like was enough for kind of me to kind of make that jump. And I think since then, we've probably had a couple of near-death experiences, as you do when you're a startup, so to speak. But that's just part of the journey. And the strength of our community has been amazing, and support. We've had some, pretty tough times, but we've got there through the support of everyone. Insofar as it relates to kind of funding, anyone who kind of follows us a little bit more formally, we launched a number of different kind of proposals through our DAO, which we launched probably like three weeks ago. The most recent one is kind of TIP6, which is kind of seeking some additional support. So we partnered with 1KX, who are amazing kind of VC. They really back kind of early stage projects, and they're really a builders fund. They kind of partner with people that they want to kind of work together and help build out something amazing. And you can kind of see that through their very long kind of vesting schedule. I think it's like the longest one that I've seen within the crypto space for an extremely long amount of time. That just kind of shows the belief that I think they have in what we're building and building together. And not just to mention this, they have the expertise and the collective network to kind of get us to places that I don't think anyone else can. Obviously, kind of Jiho's venture fund is amazing, and I think I don't think anyone is on that kind of level in terms of just having that on the ground tangible experience to grow something out, whether it's kind of play to earn or just metaverse, and cultivating a community and making that work. So yeah, we're really, really excited.
I think, everything that you've talked about is really interesting, especially about like the funding and the way that you sort of went about it, and the way that it's so like community focused. I feel like, sorry, I just choked on my coffee. I feel like And there are people in the audience that have probably heard me say this like way too many times, but I feel like NFTs sort of bring a very unique opportunity to, you know, build communities really, really quickly and get this funding in a way that hasn't really been seen before, right? And the way, you know, seeing people like you guys do it in a way that's, you know, really successful and in a way that's really authentic for the community is something that's really cool, because it sort of shows that this is potentially, you know, a very real future for us, right? I guess sort of retracing a little bit though, I just wanted to ask about the community. Because like you said, a lot of what you do is incredibly like community driven and like to a degree that not many projects are like. And I guess I was wondering how you think your community has become so successful, because, you know, I feel like for any NFT project, community is one of the biggest factors you need to look at, right, as a metric of success. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our community, I will continue working on this project as hard as I can until people still believe in it. Just because, like, you know, I almost like get emotional thinking about how humbling it is. Like, people just, you know, like I said, the cards had spelling errors in the original ones. And I came from DeFi. I didn't know anything about NFTs. And, you know, in a lot of this world, it's like very glitzy and glamorous. And if you're not an influencer, you don't have influencers lined up behind you, you know, your project is dead. We didn't have any of that. Like, we had like Mike Crypto and Sumptum and JPEG Ape and Mike Abundo, just like people who like relentlessly were evangelizing this project on Twitter. All of our, besides me and Utah, pretty much everyone else came from the community that now works full-time at Treasure. The best ideas on Gaarp and I figured out like what Magic and Treasure is supposed to do in a 4-hour call, and now like the community members have written all of our lore. I mean, it really is the community that built the entire project, and it's amazing. And it's just like, and I have no doubt that like Treasure will succeed, because it's like that's what a metaverse is. A metaverse is just a group of people building something together. And that's exactly what the project has been the entire time.
100%. I mean, like that's sort of, you know, what people see decentralization like, right? My vocal cords are not working today. Yeah, no, I think that's really, really cool. And the fact that you're so passionate about the community, and the community is, you know, receiving it really well and contributing to the project really well is really, really great to see. If you didn't have further questions, I might draw some questions from a couple of people in the audience.
Yeah, there's someone.
Yeah. Let me pull them on stage. Or her.
Cryptome. Cryptome, are you there?
I think they just need to. They're like processing. I don't know if this is just like terrible Australian. Oh, there they are. Okay. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for the opportunity, and I have two questions. The first is that I think DAO is a pretty new kind of organization, and the history is short, so they don't have many regulations and experiences to follow. So, how do you manage to govern it more efficiently? I know there are tools like Aragon and stuff. So, what do you use to hold people together and make sure that they move on the right track? And the second that I see that you make Treasure and ERC721 token, and as it is a set of economic resources, so does that will limit the quality of economic resources? And that's my question. Thanks.
Do you want me to jump in for that, John?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
So on the DAO front, yeah, you're exactly right. Like it's really nascent. You know, there's been various iterations through kind of over time, and I think the tooling and the infrastructure has got more sophisticated as we've kind of gone through. I mean, for us, we've only been a DAO for like 3 weeks or so. So it's a learning process. But I think the best part of kind of working in crypto and Web3 is that there are so many good things to kind of draw upon. You know, we've been in really heavy discussions with the Olympus team, as an example. So which is like an amazing team. And you've got really cool, kind of interesting governance models, such as kind of like Rome DAO, even Temple as well, if you're kind of involved with that. Like, you know, they are forks in one way, shape or form, but actually they're creating something quite unique in terms of how they kind of manage the broader community. And, you know, as we kind of mentioned, like our whole project is community based, and there's this, we're finding this amazing talent come through on a daily basis. Just it's phenomenal. So I guess, long story short, it's an evolving process. I think when we get into like the new year, we'll have a think through some like really interesting kind of frameworks that we can apply to this. It'll probably be a blend of stuff that we've experienced in real life, but then we want to make it native Web3. We want to make it as kind of open as possible, such that you can get the best out of the community coming together. But it's all going to be learning, right? Because it is new. And then the second question, I'll have a first go then, John, maybe you can jump in, but I think the 721, the ERC 721s, I think that's for the original treasures that were created, correct me if I'm wrong, John, on kind of layer 1 on Ethereum. So most of what we've created now is we've bridged to Arbitrum, which occurred, I can't remember, I think about a month ago, time goes so fast, and all the ones that we created there are 1155s. Which means that they're not fungible, like they're not non-fungible, sorry, in that sense. You can have more than one of one iteration. So to your point, like we're constantly thinking through like how we kind of build it out, how we scale it, because the end goal is that we want to make this as big as possible, as open as possible, which means we're going to have to scale and onboard. So thinking through the kind of the go-to-market and the economic construct around it is really important. But that will mean that we'll have to increase the number of treasures, as an example. Maybe not in the same way that it is at the moment, but if we're going to make it useful within a game context long term, then it needs to increase in some way, shape, or form. But all this will come through the DAO. All this will have like well thought out kind of thinking and framework behind it. So it's definitely kind of front of mind.
Yeah, and we do want to increase the supply of treasures and have some inflation. But the big takeaway from DeFi for me is, so when I first got into crypto, I really liked Grin. It's probably one of the least successful projects in crypto. Its idealism was great, but you have to make your early supporters wealthy, which is the fact of crypto. And we front-loaded magic emissions. We want to make treasure inflation high. So like if you were here in the beginning and you went through this trying period, like you've earned it, and you own a sizable portion of the economy going forward. So we picked a token standard that would let us to continue to reward our OGs. In a further economic phase, I guess I could say.
If I'm to just jump in on that, for example, loot. If people were to build a game on top of it, there's only a limited amount of loot, and they won't be making any more. So it does limit a lot of player base that they could bring in. There is more loot and things like that, but I don't think they'll include that. In our case, because we have magic, which is the underlying value of metaverse, which will increase in value, and we have treasure, so we can use treasure as an economic resource that can spread throughout the metaverse and can inflate it, have some tokens things to map it out properly. So a lot more people can jump in, but also have magic where it increases the value and it keeps on rewarding people who have been with us since the start.
Yeah, I'd probably just add to that as well, just around the broader relationship between them all. I mean, the way we kind of think of it is magic kind of powers everything. Treasure is a key resource, and legions are like nearly the players that you need to kind of engage with it in one way, shape, or form. But there's something that we're going to roll out relatively soon. A bit of an alpha leak is the consumable farms. I know we've been kind of talking about that before, but there's really interesting things that you can do with that. And as just a general principle, everything we do is intrinsically composable. So we want to be able to build stuff that people can take and then integrate within their ecosystem. And we take a very broad approach around how to do that. So we've got lots of partnerships in the works. We mentioned one this morning with Olympus Odyssey, which is the NFT arm of Olympus DAO. They're really smart guys, just more gigabrains, and they're building cross-chain. But we've got some super cool stuff that we're kind of cooking up there. There's a couple other things as well that we're working on, which should hopefully be pretty juicy when we can release more about that. But all of that is around composability. Again, how can we all work together, create this kind of metaverse collective where we're all kind of leaning on each other, our collective talents, community, etc., to kind of build out something amazing that you could never do by yourself.
I mean, each treasure will have a unique story because they will be shared and have different utilities across different metaverses, different worlds and different games, etc. And it'll just be really interesting to see this entire net of treasures with each with their own unique story across different numbers and sequences of other worlds.
Thanks for the answer.
Thank you so much, Kryptone, for your question. Nahil.
Yeah, hey there.
Nice.
Hi.
Hey.
John had a question for you, actually. So I saw that tweet you posted a couple weeks ago about Magic being wrapped with a new name to allow essentially like new tokens being built on top of it. Is there going to be any kind of documentation on that from the TreasureDAO for anybody interested in building around the ecosystem anytime soon?
Sure, yeah, we can put that together. That was sort of just leaving the bar thought that hadn't, thought about it a little bit. Hasn't. But yeah, we should put something together, and we're gonna roll out an example of it soon. But basically, the idea would be like, let's say there's this metaverse that has a play to earn component in it, and that metaverse is super valuable. Whatever you're earning and you're playing to earn is worth real money, and like there's some objective you're trying to reach, and if you get that item, you can sell it, and then you want to have another currency that's like a medium of exchange and like a facilitator to reaching that item. In theory, you could take an LP token like Magic Weth and put it in to this world as a separate item or as a separate token, and then either cap the number of tokens that can be created. Like say, okay, there can only be this much liquidity can make these new tokens, or do a bonding curve that's like each new marginal mint, or each new mint has like a marginal increase in the cost of minting. Then if that token is like super valuable in that world and it's hit its max supply, like in theory the token could like completely soar relative to its underlining LP token value. And alternatively, like even if it did soar, it's actually better than most metaverse tokens because it has like a baseline value. So like Banana in theory could go to zero in Kong's world, but a Magic Weth LP token can't go to zero in the same way one of those are. So like, what if we made NFTs that are actually like LP tokens walking around with skins on them? And then that whole world would have it would have like a baseline economic value to it, and it would do other cool stuff too. Because then it's like now you have like a rush to protect that liquidity line, because every time someone burns their token to get back the LP token shares, now there's like a seat that's opened up that someone else wants to get. So you have constant demand to provide liquidity to the underlying pair. So yeah, that's like something we're going to explore more in the future.
Awesome, thank you.
I might just like extend on that as well. Just again, these are just like ideas that we're kind of thinking through. As kind of John mentioned, like the abstraction of an LP into something really simple and meaningful within another ecosystem is like really important to us. So it's like very tangible and concrete within the other metaverse, but maybe perhaps within insofar as it relates to us as an LP token. And if we kind of think through Magic as the means that kind of bridges everything along with Treasure himself, having LP token abstracted away but then used and kind of folded into the core gaming loop of these kind of partner ecosystems does exactly that, right? So we can increase the liquidity depth and breadth of the Magic LP, or when we go to the Geo Magic pair, we can do the same thing and do that in a really meaningful way once we start scaling out, but not kind of cost prohibitive. But then the people actually using that within their own ecosystem or metaverse don't even know there's an LP token. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. And then once you start going to kind of dual staked kind of mining contracts where you can have an NFT plus an ERC20 kind of emitting from that and create kind of consumable farms off the back of it, there's quite a lot of opportunity and kind of juicy stuff that you can kind of cook up that we're kind of thinking through.
Yeah, definitely. The gamification and kind of reskinning of DeFi is really interesting to me. So, yeah, great. Thank you for the clarification on that.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question, Nihil. I guess a question I wanted to ask is, like, when I was preparing for this AMA, I literally turned from a small brain to a big brain. I felt like I was cramming for a uni exam. And I guess the point that I'm going with that is that, we've talked about the history of Treasure, we've talked about the community that you guys already have, but in terms of newcomers coming into your ecosystem, you've got Treasure, you've got Smol Brains, you've got Getting Body, you've got so many things happening. Like, how should one go about entering from right now? Probably the best way forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways, right? It really depends. So it's interesting. We're actually kind of building out these kind of gaming loops as it relates to our kind of community. And so I guess anyone who's kind of familiar with crypto knows the OR meme. So like the double OR. So like the regulator, like the taxer, all those kind of people. So basically what we're trying to create these different personas, because I think people engage with these ecosystems in different ways. And so, one might be the farmer, and so that's a very passive strategy. You come in, maybe you farm a whole bunch of consumables and you kind of sell onto like a crafter or a battlor because they need to use it within that. Then you've kind of got the trader who buys items in the marketplace and they try to sell it for, flip it for a profit. You've got the crafter who kind of collects a whole bunch of stuff, turns into new items and then on-sells to the battlor. You kind of got the guilder who kind of groups together and maybe lends out their assets. So we're actually thinking through like very specific kind of personas so that people can kind of onboard quite easily, because we're very aware that there are people who don't have enough time to kind of engage with it on a daily basis. And we're very aware that the complexity of our ecosystem has increased nearly exponentially, as you mentioned, as we layer in all these different things. So we're working through kind of simplification frameworks to allow people to do that. If you want to onboard, I mean, obviously Magic, I think, is kind of the easiest way, or just an NFT itself. Smol Brains, I think, is amazing. I think John might have had to kind of drop out just for a little second, but he's the real brainchild behind it. It's just in terms of like the go-to-market and making it pre-launch and super fun. I think like one of the key things we want to make it is fun. There's lots of crypto people trying to make games and actually game companies coming into crypto, but they're trying to take what was their existing construct and trying to nearly apply the same rules to this new world, which I don't think is going to work. I think you need to take the blend of both, and that's that's the general principle that we're applying to this. Smol Brains has just been genius. Is John there? I think you might have to step out for a couple of minutes.
Right. If I'm just to build on top of Gaarp, I mean, there were people who asked about if the game will have a lot of different ways of playing, and we are thinking of having passive and active ways of playing the game, to cater for everyone, because not everyone has the time to play the game or would like one kind of gameplay, because we don't have the resources to build a gameplay or a game that caters to everyone. So some people would not like playing the active part of the game, so we need to cover the grounds and then have passive ways that people actually can enjoy and interact with the game without actually having to play the game. That's just on top of that. And to go to the original question, if you to get started on Treasure, I think you should just go to jump onto the server and then jump onto the DGen Corner channel. That's a good way to learn.
Magic or like NFT, go to the marketplace. Legions or Smol Brains. Smol Brains are probably the most accessible, I think, so far. Just obviously Treasures themselves. We're building out kind of utility and applications for all of our various partners and assets. And just jump into the server. We've got an amazing community. They're here to help. I think they're going to be one of the most friendly communities there. We've been through some heavy times, but they've stuck with us this whole time.
Is it Smol Brains? Sorry, I was putting my dog.
Well, we were just mentioning how like you kind of onboard, but Smol Brains would be good. The other brainchild of Smol Brains.
I think in terms of when you mention Smol Brains, when you mention like the crafter, these sort of personalities, it really touches upon a good point with Smol Brains, is that you guys know how to make a good meme. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why it's done so well. So I guess maybe to you, John, two questions. Like, what was the process behind the creation of Smol Brains? And I kind of need you to explain the FUD for everyone. Not the FUD, but the launch, sorry. Give us the rundown. You typed in lowercase. I was genuinely shocked. I was confused.
I was trying to be serious, like, okay, this is a serious situation, I'm gonna type in lowercase, everyone takes me seriously, and everyone was like, it's clearly a scammer, small dev talks in only all caps. That situation was so frustrating. Our teammates were DMing me like, fix this, because they had been working out. I was like, it'll work out, we're not charging people, free men, so you can still make money doing them. It'll work out, and they were like, you gotta fix this shit right now, because we thought it was going to go to zero. But anyway, Smol Brains, I don't know really where the idea came about. We're just kind of talking about, I guess, maybe like when we're thinking about this world where the legions live, like, you know, you make decisions to kind of like what legion it's kind of a choose your own adventure thing. And then
We need to talk about the game.
in this world with magic and treasures, which once you accumulate to how to upgrade your legion, whatever. So it'll, you know, NFTs are this idea of like a static NFT PFP thing is kind of going to go away, and they're all going to start resembling board games more so. Like the mechanics will be very involve a community, like just like I guess this is like the dumbest possible manifestation of that. Just the monkey's head's getting bigger, but I drew the initial ones out like in Photoshop. I think they're cute, but they're really bad. But and then Pixel Matt took them and then made them into bigger heads. But we're gonna try and build like a whole Smolverse around it. I'm super pumped about it. I think it could be like a really like CyberKongs and stuff like that. I really like CyberKongs, but at the end of the day, what I was saying before, like really the only NFT projects that could make a metaverse are like CryptoPunks and I guess maybe Anonymize were the only free ones. Like the Kongs aren't going to make a lasting metaverse. I think their art's incredible and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's like pretty proprietary. It's just not a community telling a story together. The FUD as I wanted to go to bed and then our teams all spread across the world. So the front end guy's in Japan, and he was like, "It's done now." And I was like, "Okay, we'll just send it." And I guess I forgot to tell the mods, and then everyone thought I was a scammer, and the whole thing blew up. I thought I was going to lose my real life job because people were blowing up my statuses that I was like had scammed them, and it was disgusting. And oh, what a nightmare! But now it's just a funny story.
It really is, and I think the endless amount of memes that came out after that really captured that. Especially, I think, shout out to Shoplifter. You made such a funny meme. But we're short on time, so I kind of wanted to move on to Bridge World. You know, you guys are building a game, and well, I don't know whether it's you guys or maybe you're contracting it out elsewhere. But in terms of like, why make a game in the first place? Like, don't you think it could be a more easier option if you just build that base layer for other people to build on top of you and just leave it at that and kind of decouple yourself from the risk of building out a game, because game development is quite a complicated thing that you can't rush. So yeah, I was wondering if you could touch upon that.
I'll let Tay hop in there. I did want to say one other thing, and this is like I forgot to say it when Nihil was asking the question earlier. It's kind of so I feel like DeFi and game/metaverses, the distinction is not going to exist anymore. Like in 2 years, DeFi 1.0 is never coming back. It's like boring, just pure finance mechanisms. The maximum number of people who could have been drawn into those protocols as users has been reached, and then metaverses are not going to like just resemble this like paid model anymore. It's going to be like community built games, grassroots, bottom up. So like an example would be like Olympus DAO. Probably the best version of it is as a metaverse, because in theory, like what if it was like when you pay for a bond, you give them their LP tokens, and then they turn around and issue those LP tokens as like a god NFT. So you have all these like retail users coming in who like think they bought an NFT. They don't realize they're just like walking around in an LP token basically. So the liquidity is like safe. It's you're achieving protocol controlled value, but in a metaverse like narrative package. So like could be a game. It is a game. All of DeFi is really a game. And it's a resource game. And so like these lines will start blurring much more. People won't ask like, well, why are you building a game? People will only be building games. So anyway, Gaarp, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I'll kind of speak to like the broader kind of thesis behind it, and then I'll let kind of Tay dive into more of the specifics on the actual game itself. So, if you kind of take a step back and you think about where kind of Treasure and Magic's trying to go, we're definitely trying to build, as we kind of speak to, a bridge world or bridges between all the metaverses and such. So, all the constructs that we develop is to allow everyone to build on top of each other. But as we kind of mentioned before, like we're extrinsically composable but intrinsically modular. So everything we do internally is very modular that we can scale and repeatably. And so building out this broader ecosystem where people can plug in and take it up is fantastic. But for stuff like Smol Brains and a small verse and what that becomes, Life is another one that'll be kind of launched soon. If you're able to kind of seed things internally, it also gives you kind of a lot of room to kind of test and learn very fast. And anyone who's kind of involved in crypto knows it's 24/7, which is like full on. You cannot sleep any time of the day. You're just constantly wide awake. You're kind of wired, which is I guess good and bad. But I guess having internally seeded stuff just gives us a lot more flexibility to kind of test that, and then to kind of take to partners as well to say, hey, what about this? And there's lots of people that we've been speaking to where we can kind of spitball ideas and kind of build it out. Insofar as it relates to like the broader product, like Legion's kind of within the bridge world, that's kind of the flagship product we're building. So Auto Chess Battle, I'll let kind of Tay speak to the details, but we're taking a phased approach to that, right? So because we are gamers, we're very much aware that it's really hard for a gaming company to build a great game, let alone a crypto kind of native to build a game that can kind of compete in that space. So these are all considerations that we're quite aware of. But again, we're not going to just dive into the deep end and not kind of think that through. We want to build it progressively. Still have different phases to actually get up to that level. At the start, it might be lower fidelity, but eventually we'll get to something like full on, more kind of encapsulating what you would expect in a fully fledged game, but something that has the input from the input and feedback from the community, but it's still kind of ultimately fun to play with. And I'll let kind of Tay speak to more the details on the actual game itself.
By this point, I've sort of forgotten the original question, but just to build on top of what Gaarp was saying, and you guys are saying, games are actually very, very difficult to make. I have come from a game development side, only on the art side, so I know how crunchy it is. But we can't just make building blocks, cogs, and then give it to the community and wish someone would make something for us. I thought, we wanted to spearhead out of the bubble of treasure just being building blocks and cogs. We wanted to actually take the brunt work of the work, and then we wanted to show people what can actually be done, and speak through actions, and it'll kickstart the community to actually see what can be done with the resources, and then actually believe that they can do it themselves as well, and then continue building on top of us is what I was thinking the game would do. Basically show the community that like these are building blocks that can be used across different metaverses. Is that what the question was?
No, but it was very valuable information anyway. Thank you, Tay.
I think the other thing is, like, if we seed projects internally within the community, including the game, we have a lot more control around how the kind of economy works. So notwithstanding that, obviously, when people build on us, we don't want to control how their ecosystem operates, but we do need some sense of kind of policy decisions, and that's still kind of controlled by the DAO. But we need some flexibility there, and having stuff that you can kind of seed yourself just allows you more levers to pull. So if things do go a little bit haywire, yes, for sure, you can kind of leave to the market to kind of balance it out. But at the same time, the concept of meta balances, like in anyone who kind of playing these games, you kind of need an element of that as well, just to kind of tweak things here and there. But again, it's going to be kind of community driven, community informed, kind of DAO based to a certain extent. It's a whole new world that it would be pretty interesting to see how it kind of plays out.
Just a side question: is this game, are you intending for it to be on PC or like more mobile? Assuming that.
We actually wanted to be on both ends. We want to focus on mobile because we think the reason that accidentally succeeded was because it was available on mobile, and a lot of different countries, mobile caters to people from all, let's say, third world country, first world country, etc. If we were to only launch it on PC, it would only cater to some group of people, which we do not actually want. Yeah.
did want to say, just to add really quickly, so the game, all of it, the entire spec actually came from a community member. And we're just building it as like an example of what treasures can be used for. Because he was like, I don't have time. He was an Axie whale, and he's retired or something. And he was like, I don't have time to build this. This is a great idea. And we're like, that is a great idea. Okay, we'll try and build that. Like, to me, treasure is much, much bigger than a specific game. Or maybe not bigger is the right word. It's just a story. Like, it's culture or folklore or whatever that is. Like, NFTs are allowing us to build these things in public as communities. It's like an entire new kind of like social integration and experience. You know, that to me, that's what treasure is. And if it ends up like being a game client on someone's phone that they really like, cool. But you know, that's like a facet of it. It's not like the end goal.
Yeah, that is super interesting. In terms of, I guess, gaming, the current sort of mechanisms that underlie the NFTs, like you can stake them, you can trade them, you can put them into liquidity pools. As I read on the website, you've got 5 additional functions coming in. I'm just thinking, like, can you reveal any details around that? Is that something completely new, or is it something that we've seen before? And just on integrating it into the game, as we're onboarding more users, more retail users, people who aren't so DeFi savvy, like what's the approach there? Is it just going to become so seamless that people won't even know they're engaging in these DeFi mechanisms?
Jay, do you want to go? I can go. It's up to you.
I don't know. I just wanted to say yes. That is exactly what we're thinking. And if you can go on top of that.
Yeah, so if you kind of think about like the normal way you kind of engage in the game, again, kind of going back to the principle of we want it to be fun. Like ultimately the game has to be fun, otherwise it's going to die. And I think like a lot of crypto games, like they okay, but ultimately like if it's not fun to play, it just becomes a chore, and then you just rage quit. We don't want people to do that. We want people to have fun, invest in the time, have fun, playing with other people as a collective, and to kind of help build this out together. So there will be some very familiar things to do within what we're building. And again, we're building this iteratively and modular. So there will be like certain product features that we'll be able to release over time, but in a very kind of low fidelity way at the start, which will start to get built out into more interactive, rich experiences for the community to kind of engage with. In terms of like new stuff, for sure, I think there will be new ways, but like if you think about between now and when we want to get an MVP out, which can't give a kind of concrete date on that, but there'll be so many different variations on what that is. Because if you think about how fast crypto moves, 6 to 12 months is a huge amount of time in terms of what you can build. Stuff gets innovated and then iterated many times over, in the space of a week, a month. So in terms of, I'm not even going to say we're going to be constrained to something by then, because there really is quite unlimited kind of potential around what you can build. In terms of like DeFi abstraction, there's kind of two ways I've been thinking about this. There's one which is the people who want to engage actively in DeFi and like that kind of construct. We can maybe merely have like a simple mode for people to do that, but like ultimately, if we want to scale this to a larger audience, then it has to be abstracted away. And I think it has to be more of like a tangible thing that relates to the game. They just don't know that it's DeFi.
Yeah, because that's how I feel. Like. If you understand a concept really well, you can explain it to someone in a simple metaphor and get like all of the major mechanisms. So a very well put together DeFi protocol would have the consumer's experience would be in the form of a simple game or something. So like we just want to make our narrative good enough where the DeFi is exceptional and it can be integrated into larger DeFi stacks, but no matter the user's understanding of DeFi, they're still interacting with the stack in the same way, because it's like we just really distilled the most important pieces.
Yeah, and DeFi is like a whole metal cogs, for example. It's a pretty savage place, and we want to just put a cloth on top of that, make it a little bit soft, and give it like game mechanics, game front end, and then make people just interact with it without actually realizing that they are interacting with the DeFi end, like deep end of the DeFi things. Is what we actually plan to do, and is what we're thinking about quite heavily. in building the game.
Absolutely. Just cognizant of time, there's one more topic I want to kind of brush on real quickly before we head into the ending questions. Just, we're raffling, had the awesome opportunity to just raffle 10 whitelist spots to Getting Bodied. And I heard this is a project that you guys handed out to the community. I was just wondering if you could speak more to that decision, as well as just the product, as well as just the project in general.
Yeah, that one was like a 4 a.m. kind of idea that it's like, oh, this isn't going away, but I'm excited about. But it was also kind of like, oh, I did this really late at night. So I'm really thankful the community wants to run it. But the same idea with Smol Brains is like, okay, let's just make the bodies bigger and then see where it can go. I think it's a funny little concept where we can give them enough royalties from the marketplace so they can get like a video game developer to like start building a game around it. Maybe the Smol Brains and Smol Bodies like fight, and my idea for where the Smolverse will go, I hope, is that we turn into a DAO, and then it's like when you sit down in front of your Nintendo and you put cartridges in and stuff, like Smol Bodies, Smol Brains, all these other things are like little cartridges, except this time, like when you save, like it can go across all of the games, and the games are interacting with each other, and you get to actually like write them as the user because you're voting in the DAO and shit. I would like Smolverse to be like an interactive video game console.
Cool, and I think we've got someone from Getting Bodied, the project itself. Traveler, would you like to jump on?
Hi there. Yeah, this is I'm Traveler. I am kind of one of the community members that John trusted blindly to start helping kind of form and guide a community and bring this together and try to like really stimulate conversation about what a game could look like. And I think it's a really cool concept and something that me and other team members have kind of tried to run with and tried to kind of put that into everything we're doing in terms of like a whitelist process where we're going to build community emojis, and we're kind of like hoping that anyone, regardless of skill, can create an emoji, and especially those early submissions. And it doesn't matter if it's really artistic, because other people in the community will help, polish it up and make it into something cool. And I hope that that's what we carry over and we continue to do as a community, is kind of crowdsource ideas and crowdsource a future of development and working together, and we'll see what we can do.
I did want to say that Travelers, I did put up this Twitter account and then immediately regret it, because it was like, shit, I just had an idea, and then Pixel Matt made the NFTs, we don't have time to run another community, and then shot out if you want to run this DAO, send me your resume or something. And then Traveler and several others put together this extremely polished, here's what I offer in community management, here's my vision for the thing. And 30 minutes after I sent that post, there was already a fully formed DAO leadership. It's pretty amazing, and I'm super excited for them. Amazingly well.
That's super awesome. Thank you, Traveler. I understand we are past 12 o'clock, well, at least, sorry, in Australia. So with that, I was wondering if there's anything else you guys would like to share before we wrap up.
I'm going to do a shameless kind of plug kind of sort of thing. So there's something else that we could be working as well. It's a project that's going to get built on the kind of Treasure Metaverse. It's called Toadstools, which probably will be on the kind of Treasure Marketplace, but you've got to go through the details of that. But long story short, the kind of narratives around a small toad and its journey to the Citadel, kind of very kind of entrenched in the own kind of narrative, and the whole kind of concept is toads together strong. So you have to work together to become swell, and just working through game mechanics. Really simple game mechanics to make this super exciting, but again it has very strong links back into treasure and magic, as well, just in terms of that being the underlying. And so I'll probably share in the Discord, just an invite there if you guys want to kind of jump in. Just give away kind of 5 toadstools to lucky winners. All you have to do is kind of jump in, go to the Croak panel and just write Croak, and then we'll kind of announce in 48 hours or so.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I will definitely be croaking to get my chance at winning a toadstool. Well, I think that's all we got for today. Isn't that right, Ono?
Yeah, no. Thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate your time. And yeah, we love your team and your project.
I will definitely be joining the Treasure Discord after and keeping up to date. Well, thank you so much, everyone, once again. I think we'll sign off there.
Yeah, and well, we need to schedule you to come to our Discord now and tell us more about 721.
Yes.
That'll be the next thing we can do.
Definitely can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Have a good one.
Good chat, guys.
Bye.
See you guys.